Yeah, like that's the problem when you're trying to do this sort of stuff. Big fat fingers. Um, I just wanted to go through, show you a few details while that thing was bleeding down. And I wanted to show you, I've had this for about 20 years. And hopefully, I was looking at this before and I could see it quite clearly. So hopefully you guys can see it. Get me pointer. Okay, so it's got to be quite close. So this, if you don't know what this is looking at, what you're looking at here, these are all the different measurements that you can have for push rods, right? See, it says here wrench flats, and this is an old instruction sheet for Jim's hydraulic lifters. And what they're showing you here in this sheet for their Jim's lifters is the different turns that you got to push them up and down for the different threads on the lifter, right? So this is one of the trickiest things to get your head round with bikes. Now, especially with these things, with these hydraulic lifters, right? So what I'm talking about is the threads here on these push rods, right? Okay, we're talking about the threads here, right? And depending on what manufacturer is making them, they sort of come out with different thread thicknesses. And on this, you can see it here. Oh God, I got. Here with me. You can see it here, you see? These are the threads, the different threads. So this is threads per inch, right? This one has 24, 28, 32, 36, right up to 52. And these are the different amounts that you turn them out. This is the different travel lengths that each does, right? So in order in order to find out what threads that you have in your motorcycle is what push rods you have. Like like I said, this sheet's over 20 years old, right? So I think some of this push rod stuff has been standardized. And when I say standardized, a lot of them are using the same size threads. But the point I'm making here, you got to be so careful, because if you've got, like, in a couple of my old bikes and a couple of jobs I've done, the amount of turns that they're telling you is for a different size, different thread pitch, or a different amount of threads in the lifter, right? So if you are then adjusting those lifters to what they're saying in the book, because the thread is actually thicker or thinner to the ones that they're talking about. You're actually adjusting the push rods. You're adjusting the push rods differently to what they recommend in the book. And quite often the problem, what you'll notice if they've been done wrong, is that when the engine is sitting there, it'll be going, oh God, I'm going to have to get a chair. Hang on a minute. The first thing that you'll notice, if the hydraulic lifters have been adjusted wrong, is that there's an excessive noise, right? And the excessive noise comes from the hydraulic lifter being at the wrong setting, okay? So a hydraulic lifter, if you can imagine, a hydraulic lifter is like a cup what holds oil, and the whole idea of it is that the lifter, you adjust the lifter down into it, and then it floats in the middle of the lifter on a plane of oil. And if it's too far down, it whacks the bottom like that. And if it's too far up, it hits the top and makes this sort of clacking noise, right? And I've come across this so many times. It's just, I was at the old cow in Waikato there, having a beer with my mate, and this guy, I felt a bit sorry for this guy actually. He came into the pub and he was on a trike, and it had Evo. It had a 1340 Evo in it, but as soon as he came into the car park, as soon as he came off the road, I could hear it going, and it was like, oh my God, it was clattering away. It was like making a hell of a noise. And he had the biggest smile on his face that it was, everything was good, and it just came out of the shop. And I walked over to this fella and I says to him, how's your bike? And he goes, yeah, good. And I introduced myself and I says to him, how's your bike going? He goes, oh yeah, it's going good. I says, yeah, but your lifters are making too much noise, and if they're making that much noise, clack, 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 something's not right. They've said it wrong. He says, oh, it's just come out of the shop. I says, well, you need to take it back to the shop and say, it doesn't sound right. Old mate, I had a guy, you can quote my name, absolutely fine. Tell him, here's my card, and get them to give me a call. And if they don't agree, but tell them that those lifters need to be readjusted. And that is the problem with them. You've got to do so much research on those lifters. Now, I can hear you all going, how do we do that? And these, I was just doing a practice run with this before. These, right, are thread gauges. And for the average Joe Blow, people don't have them, okay? And what they do, right, so here's your bolt. Right, and then these are your thread gauges, you see, and in here tells you every different thread you can possibly have, and what it is the case. Now, you can imagine, what I tried to do, I had some old lifters in the drawer, and I think I've had a clean out and thrown them out because they were bent. But basically what I was going to do was pull one apart and show you how you put one of these little things into the side of the thread to show you what thread it is. Okay, so because I can't find the lifter, I'm going to do it on this bolt, right? And I've already found it here, and I will endeavour to do it. Okay, and then that fits in there like so, see? And then if I use the one in front, right, it won't mesh, you see? And these are called thread gauges, right? And this one, and if I go the one up, it won't go in either, see? It won't go in either. Okay, and this one is 32, right? And that represents 32 threads per inch. Now, if this is a, what's this? This is a Jim's one, you see? And then for me, if it was a Jim's lifter, it would be a simple case of me looking up here and going, right, 32 inches per thread, threads per inch, 32, I've already established that, okay, so it'll be 18 turns, okay, right, but unfortunately, this is for gyms, not for an S&S, and for this S&S engine, which I have the manual, it says it's 24 turns, right? And then on this one, because of the special lifters in it, they're called, they're special lifters again. They're not like normal lifters. It's a racing engine, and it's got, hang on a minute, it's got what they call an HL2T travel limiter, right? And basically it locks it in, and there's a slightly different procedure. And with these lifters, we got to let it wind, we got to let it bleed down for 10 minutes. And then at the end of the 10 minutes, it says, loosen the push rod adjustment until the push rod can rotate in your fingers with slight jag, and continue loosening the push rod for 6 flats. Okay, so we started off with 24. And basically what they say here after this taking back, it says shortening adjuster in additional 6 flats after full turn from the zero lash often results in a quieter push rod operation. This provides additional travel for the hydraulic piston assembly, which can improve the ability of the hydraulic unit to maintain zero lash under normal operating conditions, right? Now, I can tell you for a fact that I've done so many of these. I've had one bike come in here and it was adjusted one way, and I'd done all my research, found out all the information, and then done it the way that it was meant to, with the right amount of threads, the right turns, and it was so different from when I pulled it apart. I was so convinced that I'd done something wrong that I'd done the whole procedure again, only to find out that it looked exactly the same. And then I started realizing, wow, whoever had done it had just done it rough, right? But one thing that I just noticed now, if you do the mathematics, see on this book, on this one here, it says 18 flats. So here's the thing: if you took 6 off the 24, that actually takes you back to 18. So that is the right amount of turns. The only thing that they've done different is that in S&S they're saying I got to take it all the way down to 24 and then bring it back to 18. So there is so much in it. It's not a quick job. And from what I've seen with the results of bikes come through here, there's obviously a lot of people in New Zealand anyway, what I'm talking about, that they don't really know how to do it. Anyway, bear with me. I'll see if because there was one thing I wanted to sort of show to you guys. And the time is gone, so we're good for time now. So I'm going to spin you back. Right, okay. So they say take it back 6 turns. Well, take the free out of it. So they say turn it back till it's free. And I don't know whether I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger, but to me that feels pretty free. It's not super free. So I'm just going to take that back. A little bit. We'll go back. I don't know. I feel like that's pretty free actually. I just think I need to take it back the 6 turns back to the 18 like that other gym's manual says, and I'll be on the money, okay? So we keep our lines lined up and it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Okay, and that's what I wanted to show you. And we got the 2 lines there lining up. Now here's the trick bit. What I really wanted to show you is something that I've devised myself. You put the spanner in there, and you put a spanner on the bottom like so, okay, and you hold the 2 together in one hand, right, with your fat finger between, just like so, right? And you wind that back, the nut back, and you're holding the top with the top spanner, the bottom with the bottom spanner. You've lined the line up, top and bottom, and then it's a simple case of tightening that lock nut. Okay, and you can see that that's nice and long. Now the reason why we use 2 spanners like this, either like that or like how I said, I think I had it that way, right? The reason why we do that is because we're holding both of them exactly where they need to be, right? And the other thing is, if you don't use spanners, when you lock that nut, it will always move. This one will always move, and then the lines, instead of the two lines being lined up, it'll be one will be over here and one will be over here, right? And that's why I do it. And then in the manual it says they should spin freely. Okay, after, yeah. All right. And Bob's your uncle, Nellie's your aunt. Yeah. And then obviously little bit of thinners and give it a rub off. I cannot emphasize this as much. This is one of the most critical things that you'll ever what anybody can do to your Harley. Like all Harley engines, unless they've got solids in them, but yeah, let's they've all got this set up, right? And unless they are adjusted exactly to where they should be, your performance, instead of being like here at the peak, it's like not so much, right? Because those measurements are so critical. It's it's also the way that the valves open, right? How else can I explain it? If they're not adjusted properly, your valves cannot. In some situations, the valve won't be opening as much, right? Because that lifter is floating around in there. And the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and I don't know, and I feel like the time's getting on a bit, and here comes the rain. So I'm not going to compete with the rain, but I'm going to have to do another one on it, because what I was going to say is that these certain mechanics are saying, and I've seen it here in New Zealand, where they think that they can put a high lift cam into an engine and then still use the original push rods, right? Now, if you put a high lift cam into a Harley engine, you have to put adjustable lifters into it, and you have to know what you're doing. And if they don't, they will stuff your engine. I don't know, I had one here about 3 years back, late model engine. I think it was 2007. It was a late model engine. It had a high lift cam put into it. They'd put a high rev ignition into it. They hadn't put the lifters in. They hadn't put the adjustable push rods into it, and they hadn't put the heavy springs on the valves, right? If you do not put the heavy race springs on the valves, when it revs, when that engine revs, the valve in the top cannot pull back quick enough, right? And if it can't pull back quick enough, sometimes the piston comes up and smacks the valve, right? And this is the valve that I pulled out of it, right? And I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a real wonk on it, right? And that was out of that twin cam engine. It was a really late model bike, and he'd put the high lift cam in it, a racing cam. Then he put it back together with the normal push rods, and then he hadn't put the heavy springs under the valves, and it was a grenade waiting to happen. And that's exactly what happened, right? Okay, so be warned. And be warned, because it's a lot of money, like a lot of money to pay. It can absolutely stuff your engine, and it'll cost a lot of money. All right, I'm going to finish it there because I feel like I'm drobbling on. Dribble. All right, later.